Came here at just a few days' notice, remember, as late replacements when Canada withdrew from the competition. But they've delighted everyone, I think, with the quality of their football. They're leading scorers in the tournament with 6 goals, 4 of them scored by Paulo Wanchop, the Copa's top marksman so far, and the only link with English football, having of course played in the Premiership with Derby, West Ham and Manchester City. Before this tournament began, Costa Rica hadn't even won a single game in the Copa America. Now they find themselves facing Uruguay, who won the title a record 14 times, with a place in the last 4 at stake. It really is a remarkable story from Costa Rica's point of view, and proof of the dramatic improvement in the standard of their football in recent years. Their under-20 teams leading the way. They've reached the final stages of the last 4 World Youth Championships, and a consistent supply of talented players is now being produced. The weather, as you can see here tonight, is absolutely appalling. We've been used to sunshine, for the early kickoffs anyway, hot and humid conditions, but here in Armenia we've had a thunderstorm an hour or so before kickoff, and it hasn't stopped raining since. The pitch absolutely saturated, as Costa Rica, in their red shirts and dark shorts, prepare to get us underway against Uruguay in the famous sky blue. Geographically speaking, of course, Costa Rica shouldn't even be in this tournament. The country lies in Central America, flanked by the Caribbean on one coast and the Pacific Ocean on the other. They're only here as guests, but they're guests who could turn up at the final party in a week's time in Bogotá, the capital of Colombia. Alongside me tonight, Brian Marwood, and I know, Brian, you've really enjoyed the contribution that Costa Rica have made so far.
I think most people have, Alan, during their time in the Copa America. In their group games, they looked very good indeed. I think they play some excellent football, and they really have been a delight to watch. It'll be interesting this evening, though. I think particularly the grass on this pitch is very long, and of course there's been that incessant rain, and it's still very much coming down, and it seems to have certainly lined up certain parts of the pitch, and it'll be difficult for players just to really judge the weight of the ball when they are passing.
No problem judging the weight of that ball for one of the men of the tournament, Paulo Wanchop, although in the end, having extricated himself from a difficult position, he then gave the ball away. But it's clear already that the water is lying on the surface. It's obviously not a very good draining pitch, this, and it's going to get more and more difficult, you feel, as the game goes on here.
Well, it will be difficult. I think in particular it will affect Costa Rica more than Uruguay. Uruguay are very strong defensively. I think that really is their strength, is how well they do defend. From an attacking point of view, certainly not as good. But Costa Rica love to get the ball forward, in particular at their front two, Fonseca and Wanchop. Wanchop's having an outstanding Copa America so far, but certainly the way that this ball will just hold up on the surface may not really help Costa Rica.
As Castro prepares to deliver it, right-footed. I think he'd have preferred it on the left, and cleared by Gutierrez in the middle. Paulo Wanchop concedes the free kick, I presume offside from the linesman's point of view. 4 goals in the competition makes him the top scorer, ahead of Montesinos and also Aristizabal, who are each on 3 goals.
One of the area threats for Costa Rica, we talked already about the front two, but it's certainly their wing-backs, and already we've seen Castro getting forward, unfortunately getting onto his right foot rather than his favoured left, but he is a threat on this left-hand side. Drummond likewise on the right. If they can get those players into the game and get them into advanced areas, they will provide plenty of ammunition for the front two.
You can probably hear the rain pattering on our effects microphones dotted around the pitch, as Morales' header should be cleared, and is by Solis. The right wing-back, of course, is Drummond. And then the ball played dangerously forward to Centino, who leaves it. And a foul on Gomez, right on the edge of the area. Interesting position for a free kick, this.
I think the referee's actually
he's given it the other way, yeah.
And I think one thing that Uruguay are very good at, they're pretty cynical at times. They are set up very much defensive-minded. They really are determined to make sure they protect their goalkeeper, Meneur, and certainly with their 3 centre-halves, Perez, Sorondo, and tonight it's Guiterres. They certainly will miss Becerra, who really has had an outstanding Copa America from a defensive point of view for Uruguay, but, you know, very no-nonsense side.
This is Anchan filling in as a wing-back tonight. He's one of the 3 changes made by Uruguay from the team that faced Costa Rica in Group C, a match that ended in a 1-1 draw, you might remember. Costa Rica themselves have only 1 change from that match. Rolando Fonseca, who scored in the 4-0 victory against Bolivia, is rewarded with a place in the starting lineup at the expense of their veteran striker, Hernan Medford. Uruguay, who've chopped and changed their starting 11 during these championships, have 2 players suspended tonight. I'll come back to that in a moment as Castro attacks again down this left-hand side. The sliding tackle made sure he didn't get any further. But he's back in possession and offside by the looks of it. Yes, Uruguay with 2 men out suspended. Defender Joe Emerson Becerra and their teenage midfielder Sebastian Eguren, who were both sent off in their last game against Honduras.
Well, once again, unfortunately for Costa Rica, it was Castro that was offside, but there you can see, really determined to try and keep him into the game as much as possible, certainly against Anchan, who was playing as a right wing back for Uruguay. A little bit unfamiliar for him. He's when he has come on, certainly as a substitute in the Copa America, he's tended to figure more as a midfield player than as a right wing back, so he's clearly having to do a job for the team, and no doubt Costa Rica will have spotted that, and they will try and exploit any deficiencies that he may well possess in that area.
Lemos with the free kick, he takes most of them for Uruguay. And Castro back doing his defensive duties. It's a new, inexperienced, pretty young and experimental Uruguayan squad this, but they said the same things 2 years ago, and they got all the way to the final on that occasion before losing to Brazil.
Well, perhaps one thing that may stop them is really their lack of ability in creating chances in the last third. That's been one of the most disappointing aspects of Uruguay. But I guess, you know, you've got to start somewhere, and you start really at the back, and they seem to have built a very effective unit defensively. They now need to try and translate that defensive superiority now into the midfield area and up front, and certainly in Lemos, the number 9, they have a playmaker of certain capabilities.
One shot that come to meet the cross that he was hoping would reach him on the near post, but Drummond seemed to opt for the shot instead here.
Well, again, it's the benefit of getting those wing-backs forward, and Uruguay, they did it pretty effectively in the second half against Costa Rica when they played them in the group game. In the first 45 minutes, Drummond and Castro got forward and created lots of opportunities. In the second half, Uruguay nullified that, but yet, in this opening period, we've seen both Drummond and Castro in forward areas, which can only be encouraging for Costa Rica.
Incidentally, in terms of size, Costa Rica is no bigger than Scotland, and it has a tiny population of only 3 million. A country that survives by exporting coffee and bananas and the occasional footballers. Paulo Wanchope being the obvious prime example. Fonseca's cross, good one too, and the goalkeeper did well then to come out and meet it, because Gomez was in a position from which he might have scored.
Well, that was excellent anticipation for the goalkeeper, Meneur. It was perhaps one of those areas you really wouldn't have expected him to come and claim, but he was very positive, he was very dominant. He could see that 1 or 2 of his centre-halves were having problems, and certainly Gomez read the situation extremely well from Fonseca.
Drummond looking to get it back, but Centino turns back towards his defender instead, and that's proved to be a mistake. He's lost possession in a vital area of the field, and the challenge came in at the right time from the long-haired defender Martinez, as Castro takes Costa Rica forward and finds Gomez again. And he's done well. Can he get the cross in? Well, it was a desperate piece of defending by Sorondo, was it? No, Perez, who got across to make the tackle.
Well, this is excellent positive play from the number 11 Gomez. He's playing as a midfield player, but loves to break forward whenever possible. We've seen him very nearly come up with the goods at the near post. Good save from Meneur, and that time on his favoured left-hand side, just having one thing in mind, and that's really trying to get into threatening areas.
Centino with this corner for Costa Rica. They're in red, remember, and it was headed virtually off the line by the defender guarding that near post area.
Well, I think it was Onchon just doing the job that no doubt he was asked to do, and that was on the post. But we certainly had a very lively opening. In this opening 8 minutes or so, there was a chance at one end for Uruguay when really I think it was Marin, the number 3 for Costa Rica, got the ball stuck under his feet, and a timely tackle from Martinez. And quite ironically, I think Martinez is the weak link at the back for Costa Rica, but he came up with the goods. And then at the other end, when Costa Rica attacked Uruguay, got a corner and an important clearance from Onchen, the number 16 for Uruguay, right on the post.
Onchen in possession again. Lemos goes down, no free kick. Referee waving play on. He's from Colombia, incidentally. The match official tonight, Oscar Ruiz. Onchen again. And the ball swung over by Perez into a dangerous area. Morales heading it back across again. Richard Morales, that is, the number 20. Both the front men for Uruguay have the same surname. Richard Morales is the tall black striker wearing 20. Carlos Maria Morales wears number 15.
Well, it was a bit of a lazy header. He really felt, Richard Morales at the far post. Maybe a little bit more confident about his contact, and he could have settled his striking partner.
Lemos playing it a little too deep this time. Easy interception for Lonis, who's had a couple of outstanding matches in the tournament already, the Costa Rican goalkeeper. Another one-shot beaten to the challenge this time by Onchon. The game being played in the Centenary Stadium here in Armenia, a city in the west of Colombia, built at high altitude, some 1,600 meters above sea level.
Well, this is the foul on Centino by Callas, and I think may well have earned the Uruguay midfield player a booking. But Centino, very clever player indeed, loves to have lots of touches, and it's that area of the pitch for Costa Rica where they really are strong. Solis, the number 8, will just protect the back 3. He does it very well and knits the play together, tries to get his midfield partners Centino and Gomez in the game, and we've certainly seen that so far.
Yellow card for the number 7 for Uruguay, Callejas. Long-range effort from Gomez. Well over the crossbar, confirmation of that yellow card. Costa Rica have 3 players in their starting lineup who are on a caution, and another yellow card for them tonight would mean that they would not be able to play in the semi-final if Costa Rica get there. Uruguay have 2 players in similar danger. But remember, if they get through, they will have 2 coming back after their suspension tonight because their sendings off against Bolivia in the last group game. Dangerous ball played very swiftly in towards Morales on the near post. Lively work by the goalkeeper again.
Well, Cabello on the left-hand side this time for Uruguay getting forward, but you've got to think there's a real edge to this game. You know, there's a meaningness. There's something now that both sides are really playing for. You know, the cat and mouse, if you like, of the group games is over with now, and they know now they've got to come and they've got to win. They've got to play well, and that's what both sides are doing.
Yes, a reminder, we have to have a winner on the night, not extra time. It'll go straight to a penalty shootout if these teams are level after 90 minutes, as Fonseca gives the ball away, and the long-haired defender Sorondo came to win it back, and Onchon seeing more of the ball than anyone on the field in the opening stages here, playing it down the line to Richard Morales, who takes on but fails to beat Martinez. Crowd enjoyed that bit of skill from the defender as Gomez takes it forward again for Costa Rica. Untidy play. Onchon has it back now for Uruguay. Lemos joining in, and Onchon will get to the return ball. Morales is well placed. He looked for him with a very deliberate pass, but I think the defender just got his studs on the ball, and that stopped it reaching the big striker. Well,
really, I think all 4 wing-backs in the game have certainly had an impact, and well, the other end we're seeing Castro get forward on the left-hand side, but already we've seen Drummond and Castro for Costa Rica, Onchon and Cabello for Uruguay, and it was that cross from Onchon, perhaps a better ball into the box. There may well have been a slight defection by Martinez, but certainly Richard Morales had found himself at the near post, and you would have thought a decent ball in, he would have converted the opportunity.
The other Morales, Carlos, being fouled. And Uruguay come forward down this right-hand side with Onchan again, looking for the taller Morales, but failing to find him. I mentioned, incidentally, that in terms of the number of people who live there, Costa Rica is a small country. Well, strangely enough, Uruguay has about the same population of only 3 million or so, but that's really where the similarity ends. Uruguay with a very, very proud football history, first ever winners of the World Cup, and as I mentioned in the Copa America, they hold the record jointly with Argentina, winning the title 14 times.
Well, I've noticed the times when Uruguay do get into the last third, they're really just trying to play balls in behind the three centre-halves of Costa Rica. And perhaps, again, they've picked up something from the previous games in the group where Marine, Parks and Martinez at times don't really come out all as one. And I've certainly witnessed Martinez being a little bit lazy from his defensive duties, may just stay in when the other two come out, and there are space in behind them, and certainly if one of them gets it wrong, then the Uruguay forwards of Richard Morales and Carlos Morales may well find themselves onside.
Costa Rica get the verdict this time. Their free kick will be taken by Solis, taken quickly, finding Castro again down the left. Certainly favouring this left-hand side in their early attacks. Gomez. Oh, good skill. And not a bad ball! Oh, right against the crossbar with Paulo Wanchop unable to turn home the loose ball. Fonseca, the player who had the first shot.
Well, you're right, it's his left-hand side that's the problem for Uruguay, and Onchan just having to do a job as a right wing-back, and he's having a real problem, but that's a fantastic strike. It really was. He was almost turning away from goal, Fonseca, and the way that he twisted himself round acrobatically and hit a terrific shot with his left foot.
Centino with the corner, and it was Richard Morales back defending, and the referee has given a free kick. Well, Fonseca, who hit the bar a moment ago, is actually top scorer in Costa Rica's World Cup qualifying campaign. 8 goals in 13 ties he scored, and he did also find the net when these teams last met prior to this Copa America, when in fact Uruguay beat Costa Rica 5-4 in a friendly international a couple of years ago. I'm not sure we'll see that many goals tonight, but we might well have seen one there for Carlos Morales. Good challenge by the skipper of Costa Rica, Parks, to stop him. Parks, incidentally, one of the 3 Costa Ricans on a caution tonight.
Well, it's certainly been a lively opening, hasn't it? Both sides have certainly had chances, and well, Costa Rica's better chances have come on the left-hand side with either Castro or Gomez getting forward, but you really can't help but marvel at the opportunity Fonseca had, because he showed wonderful technique. I mean, just to really get a strike on target, and he was so unfortunate.
Brilliant skill again by Paulo Wanchop. Fonseca came to meet him near post. Gomez on the far post. And in the end, the delivery not quite right, blocked by the defender for another corner.
Well, they might have come into this tournament late, Costa Rica, but they really have impressed everybody with their performances, and at the moment this is no different. They've taken the game to Uruguay. I talked about how strong Uruguay looked defensively during the group games, but Costa Rica are playing with an abundance of confidence.
Topped Group C, of course, ahead of Honduras, Uruguay and Bolivia, winning 2, drawing 1. They beat Honduras 1-0, drew 1-1 against their opponents tonight, Uruguay, and finished by hammering Bolivia 4-0, even though they made quite a few changes. It wasn't by any means their strongest 11 that night. And top scorers in the tournament, 6 goals scored, only 1 conceded. And on the attack again here with Fonseca, who's already hit the crossbar. Didn't get that one quite so accurate.
Well, I thought the pitch and certainly the rain that we've had so far would really affect Costa Rica's performance, because sometimes it just holds the ball up, and they do like to zip passes around, but it doesn't seem to have altered their style. They really have found a good rhythm and a good tempo about their performance so far, and certainly their coach must be absolutely delighted, Guimarães, and it's Victor Por, the Uruguayan coach, who must be a little bit worried at this moment.
The header on by Morales, dealt with by Parks. There's Gomez again for Costa Rica. Castro slides a long ball. One shot with the first time layoff. Lovely football. Excellent stuff. Gomez again for Costa Rica. Have they got enough men in the middle? They did. Paulo Wanchope arriving late in the 6-yard box earns a corner.
Well, I thought really Uruguay, one of their strengths was defensively, and they really are under increasing amount of danger now.
Drummond's shot is blocked, and they don't know which way to look next here, Uruguay. The threat is coming from all angles. Costa Rica really on song. Well,
they're piling on the pressure, and Uruguay are really having to stand firm, and at the moment Perez, Sorondo and Guiterres, the 3 centre-halves, really are having a torrid time.
Fonseca's cross, headed away by Perez. And the intervention of Morales just prevented the ball going out for a throw, so he's given his defenders a little bit of breathing space, but not for long, it looks, as they come back again. Costa Rica with Martinez and Marin interpassing at the back. Drummond down the right, playing with wonderful confidence and some style. Oh, it's great football. One shot well placed here as well. So too is Gomez on this near side. The final delivery has been slightly disappointing, but everything else about Costa Rica's display already here, absolutely top-notch.
That's been brilliant. If you put a yellow shirt on some of them, you'd think you were watching Brazil. They really have played with a great flow to their game, and you can already hear the fans really enjoying Costa Rica's performance. But I've got to say, I'm really surprised at Uruguay. They are allowing their wing-backs, Castro and Drummond of Costa Rica, to get forward, and really Uruguay are going to have to protect Onchon, the right wing-back, and Cubello, the left wing-back. At the moment, they really are being asked plenty of questions in those wide areas.
I tell you what, Paulo Wanchope's a lucky man there for me. When the whistle had gone, he knocked the ball out of the goalkeeper's hands, and he is one of the Costa Rican players on a yellow card. Had the referee decided to caution him there, and he would have been certainly within his rights in the laws of the game, that would have meant that Wanchope would have been out of the semi-final if Costa Rica get there. It would have been the silliest caution of the championships as well. Referee showing leniency as Lemos shows the ball, left-footed. Oh, tipped over, was it, by the keeper? I think he got a fingertip to it. It was a brilliant effort by Lemos.
Well, it was superb, and it was measured. He knew exactly what he was trying to do there, Alan. He got it onto his left foot, and he's looking to bend that in the top corner, and Lonas just gets the faintest of touches, and what an important touch it was.
Rodrigo Lemos with the nearest Uruguay have come to a goal so far, and the midfielder will take the corner himself. 20 minutes gone. Good match here in Armenia, the second of the quarterfinals. We'll remember Mexico winning the first, and therefore the winners of this match will play Mexico in the semi-final, therefore avoiding two of the favourites for the championship, that is Colombia and Brazil, assuming the seeding committee have got it right and those two do go into the last four. They would meet Colombia and Brazil in the semi-final. A shame in a way. I think that's a final that most of us would like to have seen. However, the way Costa Rica are playing, we'll happily take another share of the limelight from this team. But Uruguay have come back strongly themselves. Morales in possession. And he needed support, none arrived. The shot really his only option.
Well, certainly don't write Uruguay off too soon. Certainly some of the games that I've witnessed in group stage, they haven't played particularly well, but they've got a good spirit about them, and they've got a belief that...
Lemos with the shot.
Well, Lemos is the player, he's the playmaker, and there's a couple of opportunities for him. That time on his right foot, previously it was his left foot, but Uruguay have got to get him into the game more.
Well, Costa Rica have certainly been the more impressive, but as you say, Brian, Uruguay have underlined more than once already here what a good side they can be.
Well, I think they've got a belief about them, and I think every good side does possess that. There's a lot of spirit in the team, and I think that they work very hard for each other, and they're having to work incredibly hard at the moment, because Costa Rica really have set the stall out to go for them straight from the beginning of this football match, and Uruguay are really being put under constant pressure, and the coach at the moment, Victor Pora, will be hoping they can hang on and then perhaps build from there.
And the Uruguay scraped through to the quarterfinals in third place. 1 win, 1 draw, 1 defeat. They beat Bolivia 1-0. Drew, of course, with Costa Rica 1-1, and then lost, surprisingly, in their last game against Honduras. So just 4 out of a possible 9 points. They only scored 2 goals as well. Before tonight, only Mexico had a worst goal-scoring record, but the Mexicans getting a couple to redress the balance. So as we speak, Uruguay are the lowest scoring team left in the competition. Midway through the first half here, and it's flown by as Wanchop's header is collected neatly by the long-haired central defender, number 3, Sorondo. Now Callejas, the 1-player caution so far. Perez. Monchon is available down this right-hand side, and an opportunity too for Gutierrez to come out of the defensive line. Didn't take the opportunity very well, did he? Presented it straight to Castro, and he's got to race back now as Paulo Wanchop makes ground, but Sorondo there again.
Well, I think that rightly so, you tend to look at the attacking players when you are watching any games, but I've got to say Sorondo has really impressed me so far in the Copa America round. Really is strong, organises his other 2 central defending colleagues well.
There goes Paulo Wanchop again. Brave work by the goalkeeper, and then he did really well to stop Fonseca latching onto the loose ball. Manure did excellently there for his country.
Well, that's a couple of occasions he's come to the rescue, and that was brave goalkeeping indeed, because Paulo Wanchop, with those long legs of his, looked as if he was going to be favourite.
Solis, meanwhile, for Costa Rica. Gomez. Disappointing ball to end a promising attack. But it hasn't taken the Costa Ricans long to win it back. Morales nicks it off the number 8 Solis. And now Gomez. Foul surely by Perez, but the referee didn't see it that way. No wonder the Costa Rican players livid.
Need a period of possession at the moment, Uruguay, because it keeps coming back at them, and when it does, Costa Rica have been threatening every time that they have got forward. But you know, if they can build something in that midfield area and try and get their wing backs into the game, then maybe they may be able to create 1 or 2 chances for their front 2. But I
think we're going to see a yellow card here.
Looked certainly a bad challenge, and Callejas, the player that was booked for Uruguay, really did take quite a nasty knock, and there's the tackle from the number 3 Marin. And, well, it'll be interesting. I'm sure that the referee has taken some form of action. I'll be surprised if he hasn't.
Fortunately for Costa Rica, Marin didn't have a yellow card against his name from earlier matches in the tournament, so ironically the 2 cautions that we have seen tonight have been first cautions in the competition for the players concerned. Callejas of Uruguay, and now there's confirmation Luis Marin of Costa Rica.
Sometimes when you're under as much pressure that Uruguay have been under in this match so far, Alan, is that perhaps set pieces can really count for you, and while they haven't had too many opportunities in the attacking third, if they can get the right sort of quality in from either free kicks or corners.
Well, it was a bold effort from that range by Lemos. I know he's a decent player, he's shown that already, but that was ambitious.
Oh, extremely ambitious, and would have been surprised if Lones, the Costa Rican goalkeeper, would have been beaten from that distance.
Our next action from the Copa America comes tomorrow, incidentally, when we conclude the quarterfinals. Peru, who scraped through as one of the third-place teams, facing the host Colombia, and following that game, Honduras play the holders and steadily improving Brazilians. 2 smashing games to look forward to. Lemos with a little layoff. Morales is tackled, and the referee, harshly on this occasion, in my opinion, shows another yellow card, this time to Solis.
Well, when you looked at the tackle, I think that perhaps it wasn't because Solis did or did not get the ball, it was perhaps the manner in which he tackled, and that was, in the referee's view, 2-footed.
The layoff and the deflection still didn't bother Lones. Eric Lones plays for the Deportivo Saprissa club, and Wasn't first choice till recent times, took over for the last few World Cup qualifying matches in Costa Rica's goal. Here's Gomez for them at the other end. Happy to gain the corner out of that.
That was an important tackle from Perez, and that's what I talked about a little bit earlier, Alan, that they do defend quite well, Uruguay. Whenever Costa Rica have got in the threatening areas, and they have done, there's a lot of regularity in this opening 28-29 minutes. But Perez, Sorondo and Guiterres have stood firm.
What a strange corner by Centino. I don't think he'll be trying that one again. Now they've got to get players racing back into defensive positions. And that they have, in fairness. No thanks to Centino. Here's Parks, their captain. Fonseca. Some ball that could turn out to be if it had just gone a yard further to Gomez, but it's come into his feet anyway. Paolo Wanchop delivering the through ball.
What a through ball it was. You know, he talked about on a difficult surface having the right pace on the ball, and Paolo Wanchop found that with an erring accuracy to Gomez. But unfortunately Gomez just couldn't really quite get the first touch he was looking for. But just look at how dominant Costa Rica are. I mean, just to see what the possession stats will show us at half-time, but they really have piled on the pressure, kept the ball far better than Uruguay.
Parks hits it long. Paolo Wanchop had won the ball and hadn't realised. He has now. Well, this is danger. They backed away and left a gap, and this is exactly the kind of fella that you don't do that to, because you can even get through where no gap apparently exists. Here's Gomez. Castro. Slid in short to Centino, who lays it off. Drummond, and now Fonseca. Again, an over-ambitious effort, really.
Well, they've got to really just try to keep probing on either the left-hand side or the right-hand side, Costa Rica. I think one of the dangers to their attacking chances if they really just keep bringing the ball in field, because Uruguay will be able to defend that better than they will when either Drummond or Castro have got into wide areas and provided the quality into the box. And we've seen that on a couple of occasions. Fonseca hitting the bar, Wanchop certainly looked lively, and Gomez from midfield has got forward to good effect.
Well, the ball clumsily given away to Onchon, and he's in possession again. Drives it straight at goalkeeper Lonis.
Well, I did think that Martinez, the number 5 for Costa Rica, is the weak link at the back, and it was his ball that was given away really rather stupidly.
You're not a fan of his, are you?
Well, not really.
On the far side, Cabello gets it back from Sorondo, and then one back by Parks for Costa Rica. Driving run from midfield by Solis, but he's given the ball away, and again players slipping and sliding now.
You see the player that won the important interception though, Al. It was Sorondo, the skipper of Uruguay. He's having a brilliant game so far.
There's Morales latching onto that long ball from Callejas. Well, that could have been difficult for the goalkeeper. Now, in the old days, that would have been allowed. Nat Lofthouse would have seen that as a fair and square goal. If you don't know what I'm talking about, ask your granddad. But you can't do things like that these days. And the referee was particularly unhappy about what followed that. Never mind the initial challenge, and he's flashed a yellow card.
Well, I think Lonis is the player to get booked, and it was reaction by him, and Lemos, the number 9 for Uruguay, just having a word with the referee and say what was wrong with that. But this is the reaction by Lonis that gets him a yellow card. Morales nowhere to go and looking pretty frightened at the prospect of the goalkeeper just about to chin him one.
In the net. Much ado about nothing. I presume only Lonis was yellow carded. I didn't see the referee show one to Morales. And the overprotected goalkeeping species gets away with another error, really, because it was mishandled by the goalkeeper, even though he did get a thumping shoulder charge.
What do you mean overprotected species? He just got mugged on the goal line.
They got mugged in the back of the net, but not on the goal line.
Oh, that's all right then.
Nat Loftus got 15 goals a season like that. Here's Castro. Like, you're getting wimpy. You don't like sliding tackles. You don't like goalkeepers being charged.
Well, I was a forward.
Drummond plays it in, and Gomez with the header. He was offside though.
Yeah, he was, but again, making that effective run from midfield. He's done that on a number of occasions, but, well, we didn't think Morales did get a booking, but it seems as if that wasn't the case. But there you can see Gomez. He's really done that to good effect. This time, he just gets it slightly wrong with his run.
Yes, Carlos Morales receiving a yellow card for his part in that little fun and games. Well, that surely had to be a free kick. Richard Morales pushed in the back. Fonseca doing well. Meantime for Costa Rica, they're in the red jerseys, remember. Onchon. Morales. The other Morales and Lemos, both free. Far side of the area, haven't been seen.
Well, it would have been a wonderful spot if Richard Morales could have found Lemos. He'd made an excellent run on that left-hand side for Uruguay, but Richard Morales is the one player that they do look to get into the game from an attacking sense. He's quite strong, quite imposing, and whenever that ball goes into him, he really possesses a lot of good strength. And Carlos Morales, in number 15, always aware of the little flicks and trying to get onto things whenever possible.
Neat turn by Centino. The ball over the top wasn't too neat though. Uruguayans, of course, have this reputation for being rather cynical, thuggish at times on a football field, but they certainly, when they want to play, can, as well as any of the more famous South American teams. And when you consider they are just about the smallest and poorest country in the region, their football history and tradition is excellent. And now there's a lovely, excellent ball for Fonseca, however, offside.
Well, it must have been close, and I think that full marks once again to Uruguay. But as that ball came forward, just look at the three centre-halves for Uruguay. Perez, Sorondo and Guiterres. Really an excellent line, and superbly marshalled by the Uruguayan skipper Sorondo, who has been one of the best players on show so far.
10 minutes to half-time. Costa Rica 0, Uruguay 0. Playing for a place in the semi-final and a meeting with Mexico in the last four. They have to have a result tonight. If it's level after 90 minutes, the game will be decided on penalties. Morales for Uruguay. Chance to break for Costa Rica. 4 forward for them. Gomez. Paulo one chop ahead of him. And Castro joining in. Neat little ball. Castro whacking it into the back of Perez for a throw.
Well, they've had a real problem on the Uruguay, coping with Castro getting forward on this left-hand side. He's linked up extremely well with Gomez and number 11. They've been a constant threat. And, I'd be amazed if Uruguay don't do something about this at half-time, when they can get in and they can discuss tactics for the second period.
Lemos having a really good game. The number 9 for Uruguay has won his team a throw here. And in possession again. Well, brilliant skill by Lemos. Well, he was tugged back there, wasn't he?
Well, he really is the playmaker, isn't he, for Uruguay? He's the one player that you think if they can get on the ball, he will create danger. He's got wonderful skills. We've seen a couple of strikes from him from distance, one with his right foot, one with his left foot, that very nearly crept into the top corner.
And he does love a free kick. He'll take this one, and knowing him, he's likely to have a pop. Got plenty of options should he decide to cross the ball instead. Well, he did neither.
Well, that's poor, isn't it? It really is. It's been one of the disappointing aspects in this Copa America. Set pieces have been very poor, and that was certainly no different. He possesses far greater ability.
An interesting ball in. Morales with the header, but he was offside.
Well, that'll be interesting, because the number 21, Parks, the skipper, almost looked as if he was playing Richard Morales onside as that ball came in. And well, I think that the referee's assistant will look to have got it wrong from the angle that we've just seen.
Plays for last season's Uruguayan champions, by the way. Morales, club known as Nacional. Gomez with the early free kick, look for Paulo Wanchop. Bit hasty in the end. Now the other Morales, finding his namesake. This is Richard, and that's good defending. Just prevented the ball going for a corner as well there, Martinez. Beautiful turn, Paulo Wanchop. Been a joy to watch in this tournament, still going.
I tell you, one of the big features that I've noticed about him as well is how hard he's worked for the side. I think sometimes there's been question marks really about his commitment to his team's performance, but already in this Copa America, really working back whenever he possibly can, and he's certainly been as important from a defensive point of view than he has from an attacking point of view, and he's certainly been one of the best players on show in the Copa.
Still absolutely pouring with rain here, incidentally, in Armenia, a city in the western region of Colombia, a city which suffered an earthquake a couple of years ago, which led to the loss of several hundred lives and huge damage. City being virtually rebuilt since. The football stadium here wasn't badly affected. It's called the Centenary Stadium. It holds about 30,000. Well taken on the chest there by Morales, and a good ball as well if Lemos can get on the end of it, which he has. I'm sure he'd have settled for the corner there, but he hasn't managed that.
Oh yeah, he's a threat, but he just wants to play the game at his pace, doesn't he? I think all great players seem to just have that certain pace about them that gives them that impact on football matches, and clearly he's one with a lot of ability.
Has gone for a corner and into the near post, but it's headed away by Martinez. Still danger. It's Paulo Wanchop back helping his defend. Martinez is there to head clear again. No offside. They hesitated. Morales pulling it back to the near post, and it's another corner.
Well, it's a good little spell this, Uruguay, before half-time. 5 minutes to go. Some pressure now on Costa Rica, and if they can get the right sort of quality in, they've got people like Perez, Sorondo, players of that ability, and of course Richard Morales, who really has been a focal point whenever Uruguay have been an attacking threat from an aerial point of view.
Lemos again, takes all the set pieces, and that's a better one, and the goalkeeper at full stretch to fingertip that one clear. Onchen goes down. Free kick, cue Lemos again.
It was certainly a clumsy challenge from Centino on this right-hand side, but there's the corner kick that Lonis had one or two problems with, but again, it's another set piece. Again, it's another opportunity for Uruguay to put it in the danger area, but that really is very poor indeed when you think of the position that they had on that right-hand side.
Yeah, wasteful by Lemos. Onchen. And here's the number 9 again. And gets it back. Good tackle by Centino this time. Morales thumps into him from behind. Free kick to Costa Rica.
There's some very neat interchange by Uruguay, and again Lemos in the thick of the action, but it's Centino that got the free kick.
Yet another offside. They've got to improve on that, Costa Rica. There must have been 4 or 5 times now one of their strikers has been caught offside.
Well, they've just lost that emphasis of trying to get forward in those wing-back areas. I think that they seem to get further up the field in the opening 25 minutes or so, especially in the shape of Castro and Drummond, and now they're almost trying to play long balls, and Uruguay are handling that very well. They're just stepping up. The 3 centre-halves very well organised and catching either Wanchop or Fonseca or Gomez when he's making runs from midfield offside.
Morales coming around the back, but the ball beats him to it. Well, they have got a Brazilian coach, Costa Rica, and his influence is clear to see. This is the other coach, Victor Pua. And certainly England getting used to the idea of having a foreign coach in charge of its national team. It happens an awful lot in this part of the world, with the South Americans quite used to the idea of other nationalities being in charge of their national teams. Guimaraes, the man who coaches Costa Rica, there he is, has led them to top spot in the World Cup qualifiers. They're in the CONCACAF group, as it's known, and they head that group in front of the United States of America. Morales with the cross, the other Morales just missed the header. Parks probably just did enough.
Well, that's an example of what I said a little bit earlier on, is that I'm not sure at times the three centre-halves Costa Rica always get it right, and Carlos Morales had the opportunity to fire the ball in, and really Richard Morales looked favourite because the number 21 Parks, the skipper of Costa Rica, had just stayed in his own defensive area where Marin and Martinez, his other two centre-half colleagues, had come out.
Solis. Paolo, one chop onside this time. Can he finish? Well, he's been finishing so well in this tournament, but from any angle you expect him to tuck it away. Not this time.
Well, that's the first time Uruguay have got it wrong at the back, and Paolo Wanchope found himself onside, not really showing the confidence that we've seen so far in the Copa America. But to be fair to him, it was the tightest of angles.
Well, that would have been a wonderful moment for Costa Rica to score, as we are now moving towards first half stoppage time. Remember, we're at the knockout stage now of the Copa America. Sudden death this. We'll go to penalties if they're still level at the end of 90 minutes. The obligatory 1 minute of stoppage time. Cabello with a late chance perhaps to put pressure on the Costa Rican goal. And Morales with the header.
Well, he's strong, isn't he? He's dominant. Whenever that ball has gone into that particular area of the field, he certainly has won a higher percentage of his headers. But I just wonder whether Guimaraes, the Costa Rican coach, will be a little bit disappointed that, not with his team's performance, because I think they've been excellent, certainly they were for the first half an hour, but they couldn't really capitalise upon that, and they haven't got a goal to show from their superiority in that period.
Morales took it well and flashed across the goal now. I think again the keeper might have just got a fingertip to that.
Well, it was Cabello on that left-hand side, and once again it's Richard Morales with a little knockdown. He really is giving Marin, Parks and Martinez a tough time of it. He's won most of the aerial battles.
Final corner of the half, surely. And indeed, the referee, Senor Ruiz of Colombia, blows the whistle to bring matters to a close here at half-time. And the scoreline is Costa Rica 0, Uruguay 0.
Muy disputado. Estaremos con todos ustedes al comienzo de la segunda parte con la Copa América, con este partido de cuartos de final. Hasta ahora. Del día de hoy entre Chile y México. Ahí tenemos a los jugadores de Costa Rica y lo que le hemos visto hacer a Solís. Una superstición, la de entrar con el pie derecho al terreno de juego el centrocampista de Costa Rica, y aquí está la salida de Uruguay para dar comienzo a esta segunda parte. Los uruguayos que tienen una trayectoria impresionante en la Copa América, con los 14 títulos que han conquistado hasta el momento, y que ahora mismo es la selección que podría desnivelar la situación, ya que tiene 14 títulos también Argentina, pero los argentinos no están en el torneo. Es la segunda vez que Costa Rica se acerca a una Copa América, las dos veces como invitada. Su calidad de país centroamericano, uno de los países invitados por la Confederación Sudamericana de Fútbol para la disputa del torneo.
All set to go then for the second half, and it'll be Uruguay who get us away. And one thing that is for certain is that we'll know the identity of the second semi-finalists in this year's Copa America within the next hour. 45 minutes of football, no extra time. If we haven't got a winner at the end of that time, it will go straight to a penalty shootout to decide who plays Mexico in that semi-final. The Mexicans having beaten Chile earlier this evening. The rain continues to fall heavily here in Armenia's Centenary Stadium. Conditions getting more and more difficult, but the pitch has held up pretty well. There were one or two signs early on of the ball sticking and defenders misjudging it, but it seems to have settled now. They've got used to the conditions. The cross was played from behind the line there by Lima.
Well, you've got to compliment both sets of players, Alan, when you've rightly said the pitch has really been very difficult, and what hasn't helped also is the length of the grass. It seems to be unusually long, and the quality that we've seen this evening and this football match has carried a real edge to it. And one of the, I guess, the amazing things is that we still have it at 0-0, when you would have thought that some of the general play that we've seen so far have certainly deserved one or two goals at least.
Uruguay, remember, have reached the final of the Copa America a record 20 times, winning it 14. They hold the record jointly with Argentina. They last won it 6 years ago, and they were in the final 2 years ago, losing to Brazil. Well, it was good set-up play again by Costa Rica, but Centino's shot way off target.
Oh, it's a wonderful opportunity, you know, but again, very effective passing, real crisp into Wanchop's feet, good ability, spotting players around him. Centino, who really has tried to get forward at times from midfield, very clever player, side-setting defenders.
Very few of these Costa Rican players play their club football outside of their own country. You just get the suspicion that that might change. There will have been a lot of managers and coaches, not just in Britain, but throughout Europe, watching these games very carefully indeed. And one or two players that perhaps we hadn't heard very much about before the competition started, taking the opportunity to seize the limelight and possibly getting themselves a lucrative move abroad. Lima for Uruguay with a long throw. Morales with the flick on. No problem at all for goalkeeper Lonis. One of 5 players in this match on a yellow card now. 3 of them Costa Ricans. The other 2 from Uruguay, of course. They've got to be careful. Paulo Wanchop makes ground, but didn't get very far.
Well, again, standing very firm, don't they, the 3 centre-halves for Uruguay. And I've said already how impressed I have been with the 3 of them, in particular Sorondo, number 3, but that was a picture of Richard Morales, the number 20 for Uruguay. I'm sure he'll be very much at the centre of most of the attacks that Uruguay throw Costa Ricans' way in this second period.
They have still got up their sleeve, Costa Rica, their experienced striker Hernan Medford, who played for them way back in the 1990 World Cup finals, the only time they've ever appeared in the final stages of the World Cup. But the front 2 of Fonseca and Paulo Wanchop has looked dangerous. Here is Fonseca. His only danger then was to his own teammates as he'd given the ball away. Fortunately for him, so too did Lemos. Solis. And now the defender Martinez switches play to Castro, the left wing back. Wanchop. Good work by Martinez to find Paulo Wanchop again. Castro. There's a cross taken by Gomez on the chest.
Well, he did superbly well, didn't he, Gomez? Because that ball was fired in from that left-hand side from Castro. I'm sure it wasn't meant for Gomez originally, but took the ball down, got it onto his favoured left foot, now won his side a corner,
which Gomez himself will take. Ronald Gomez He is one of the Costa Rican squad who plays abroad. He's with OFI Crete in the Greek league. Looking for Paulo Wanchop from the corner. Sorondo heads it away from danger.
Excellent play once again from the Uruguayan skipper, marshalling his defensive unit. Really has been a tower of strength.
Jervis Drummond with the throw, attacking right wing back. Fonseca caught offside as Paulo Wanchop side-footed the ball wide as it happened.
Well, Costa Rica just taking the game to Uruguay once more, but there you can see that defensive unit coming out very, very quickly indeed. It was the header down from Gomez, and it was Fonseca who was caught offside, but you have to be very careful, the front two of Costa Rica, because we talked about how well Uruguay are organised, and they love to push up very quickly.
The shot by Morales was well blocked. Two defenders throwing themselves at the ball, and Castro finds a way out here through Paulo Wanchop. Off he goes on a familiar run. Will the referee let him go? He will! And he has scored another magnificent goal. This fella is on fire in these championships. It's his 5th goal. Clear leading scorer. Paulo Wanchop has produced some of the best form of his career in the Copa America, and he might have fired Costa Rica into the semi-finals.
Well, if I was Kevin Keegan at the moment, I'd be a little bit worried, because I think there'll be one or two very big clubs indeed around Europe just eyeing this fella and his performances in the Copa America, and be thinking of paying 1 or 2 sort of millions of pounds for him, because he really has been the most outstanding player. The Uruguayan players are really arguing with the referee, but I actually think the referee was absolutely spot on with his decision, because Wanchop was impeded initially, and it was the number 14 Cabello who covered around his 2 centre-halves, and he perhaps stumbles quite easily to the ground, but Wanchop managed to keep his footing, and more importantly managed to keep his composure. And as he slotted that ball past Munir, he slotted it with great comfort, and there you can see the number 14 Cabello just going to ground, I think, far too easily. And while the Uruguayans were protesting at the referee, it was that man Paulo Wanchop continued his run and maintained his composure and continued his goal-scoring exploits.
Well, the referee had the yellow card out there. We'll have to confirm who exactly was cautioned in a moment in all that confusion. Well, I guess many people might feel that the Uruguayans had a case. Certainly, 3 or 4 defenders turned instantly towards the linesman instead of getting on with the game. Whether they had a case or not is irrelevant. The old adage, the oldest of all, is you play to the whistle, and they were guilty of not doing that.
Well, they were, and I think that, you know, talked about how well they had defended, and once again, though, wonderful ability from Wanchop, and very similar to the way that he really threaded himself through the Uruguayan central defenders when he scored against them in one of the group games, and of course that ended up 1-1. It'll be interesting now to see how Uruguay respond and how quickly, if they possibly can, get back into this match.
Well, they're angry about the way in which that goal came about, and angry Uruguayans can be dangerous opponents in more ways than one. Now, on a Uruguayan here, Monchon, I thought so, but the referee's only given the throw. As we see from a different angle, well, only Paulo Wanchop could have even had the temerity, if you like, to try and get through that group of defenders, as the Costa Rica goalkeeper Lonis makes another safe catch.
Well, I think it's a pretty good decision, and actually when you look at it again, Sorondo almost tries to check Paulo Wanchop very blatantly indeed, but he stayed on his feet, and once again showing excellent footwork, holding the ball up and doing a great job for his side at the moment, not only in scoring goals, but again, what I said about the effect he has from his work rate. He brings so much more to this side other than his goals, and his goals and his performances have really set him apart right through this tournament.
It'll be interesting to see again what happened in that little clash between him and, I think it was Lima, in the corner. Wanchop going down clutching his face as we get an offside decision. At the other end, Morales, the player, caught offside.
Well, this is an important period for Costa Rica. They can't afford to allow Uruguay back into this game. No doubt Uruguay will be stung with the way that they conceded that goal, because one of their strengths has been their defensive abilities.
Costa Rica's throw, Costa Rica's lead, Costa Rica's opportunity to make history. Before this tournament, they'd never even won a match in the Copa America, albeit they'd only taken part once before as guests. Now they're 1-0 up and looking at a place in the last 4 as Uruguay come back strongly with Carlos Morales. Perez. Oh, brilliant play by Perez, but he got the final ball wrong.
Oh, it was a great shame. Did he really work the opening superbly well? Perez on that left-hand side, just pushing the ball past the Costa Rican skipper, number 21, Parks. And that's exactly what I was talking about, Alan. They really have got the whole firm, because Uruguay have just upped their tempo now, and I'm sure there will be a sting in the tail.
Well, I think most of us enjoyed this tournament so far, but now that we've got to the knockout stage, of course, a whole new and exciting element comes into the play. Costa Rica defending deep now with Castro on the ball. And he played it against the nearest Uruguayan, cleverly winning his team a throw. Costa Rica 1, Uruguay 0. If it stays that way, Costa Rica will meet Mexico in the semi-final.
Well, I think no one can really have any complaints. When you actually analyse the game, Costa Rica have been the better side. They've played the better football. They've certainly been more dominant, but Uruguay were a plucky bunch.
Morales for them with the layoff. Clever play. The defender again threw himself at the shot, and that block is enough to take it for a corner, which Lemos will take.
Well, it was Lemos on the edge of the box, very similar in the first half when he got it on his left foot, just a little shimmy, almost setting himself up with a shot with his right foot, just dummying defenders. But Uruguay, good response by them.
Honchan headed it through. Sorondo couldn't get a shot on target. Paulo Honchan again goes on a one-man crusade. Morales, Parks trying to knock him aside, and then Centino and the Uruguayan player clashed.
Well, he hit Centino, Morales. He really did clobber him with his right fist.
Here's Honchan meantime. Perez. Good layoff. Plenty in the middle. Honchan. Morales hit the post, I think. And stayed out.
Well, this is an excellent response from Uruguay. On that right-hand side, the ball knocked into the near post, and it was Carlos Morales who got himself into that area of the field. And it was the number 3 for Costa Rica, Marine, who really couldn't do anything about it, nor the goalkeeper Lones. Unfortunately for Costa Rica, the woodwork came to the aid of them, but Uruguay really have responded very positively indeed.
Morales in the middle again. The ball headed clear. Pressure for the first time on the Costa Rican defence as Drummond hits it upfield, but Paulo Honchan, the perfect man to have up front in this situation, because if you want to knock the ball up to a forward and expect him to hold it, or even do better than that, he's your man.
Well, they might just be a little bit vulnerable as well to the counter-attack, Uruguay. They're going to have to push more men forward. I've noticed Perez, the number 5, seems to be trying to get forward at every opportunity. But that will only leave opportunities for Costa Rica, and with their passing abilities and the quality that they do possess, certainly up front, then Uruguay are going to have to just get that balance right between throwing as much as they can in Costa Rica, but making sure that they are also defending correctly.
Paulo Honchan's 5th goal of the competition separates these teams. Costa Rica's 7th. They and him lead the team and individual scoring lists. Centino. Drummond. Parks, rather, on this near side. The captain's ball down the line for Fonseca. And Parks has given it away this time and left a bit of a gap behind. Morales tried to fill that gap. brought down by Solis, was he? But still manages to play the ball through to the other Morales, who goes down, and that could be and is a penalty kick to Uruguay.
Well, I'm not surprised. I really am not surprised, because I don't think Costa Rica defend particularly well. But it was clever play indeed. Good build-up, you've got to say, but just look at that ability by Carlos Morales in the box. He shaped to shoot, and he really did fool Marin into making that tackle. And once he caught him, and the momentum of the defender on what is a slippery surface indeed, has now given Uruguay the opportunity to get straight back into this game, and they have responded very confidently, very positively. They've gone behind, but now an opportunity to level matters.
Lemos will take the kick. And Uruguay are level. Cheeky, impudent, but successful.
Well, they're great when they come off, they're embarrassing when they aren't, and now just displaying his t-shirt and the message to people back in Uruguay. And I'm sure the message that they're sending out with their last 10 minutes performance is that we're back in this game, and we are now beginning to put Costa Rica under a lot of pressure. And as we've just seen there, they've got that ability to create problems against, I think, a very poor back three at times in Costa Rica. Marin, Parks and Martinez, I don't think defend particularly well. They do rely on their forward strength of Fonseca and one chop, but at the moment Uruguay really are putting them under pressure, and that was calm, that was composed, and that was an equaliser.
And straight away Costa Rica on the counter themselves. Drummond almost found a way through. Fonseca on the ball now. What a good game of football this is now. Uruguay really have responded so well. Here's Morales, the man brought down for the penalty. Wasn't too happy to see him trying to get the defender booked, and incidentally, as it was Marin who was already on a yellow card, he would have been off. The referee ignored him. Morales is there again, and the cross goes in towards the goal scorer Lemos, who is sending some kind of message about Father's Day, I think, on his t-shirt. Well, must have it at a different time of the year, obviously, in Uruguay, and timing was the essence of that leap as well from Morales.
Well, he's a threat, but Costa Rica are defending too deep. You know, when that ball went into the penalty area, they were so far back on their heels. They're not holding a particularly good line, and we've seen already Richard Morales is such a tower of strength for Uruguay.
There's a crunching tackle there between Centinos and Lima as play continues, and Uruguay having their best period. It goes back in towards Morales, and the defender Parks just stabbed at that. It could have gone anywhere.
But again, when that ball was played, Alan, all Parks needed to do was just step up. Morales was going into an offside position anyway. If he'd been clever and bright enough, he would have just gone, thank you very much, offside, let's get on with the game. But instead, they're dropping deeper and deeper and deeper.
Well, with all to play for, with 5 players at least already on cautions, anything could happen here, and you wouldn't rule out a sending off at some stage. Look at that again, the Uruguayan trying to get an opponent caution. I must say, I do hate that.
Well, it's crept into our game as well over here.
Has.
And I think that, as you rightly said, I think most people would condemn that. But it was a good game at 0-0. It's an even better game now at 1-1.
Best thing to stop that, referees should caution the player showing the imaginary yellow card.
Absolutely spot on, yeah. Totally agree with that, and I think you rightly said that would stop players straight away.
Fonseca gets forward, Morales gets forward, has the ball at his feet, but not for long. Taken off him by Gomez.
Well, there's been so many changes in this game, hasn't it? Not from a substitution point of view, but just really little periods of play either side are having. Now it's Uruguay. They really are dominating Costa Rica, and I think it's because Costa Rica are too stretched. You know, when you look at their side, their front two are far apart now from their defensive 3 central defenders, and because of that, Uruguay are now finding space, time and room just to pick out little passes. They're keeping the ball better. But just look how far and how deep Martinez was defending there.
Composure on the ball by the central defender, who knocks it long. Paulo Wanchop control that with his chin, I think. Invites Drummond to get forward.
He's been brilliant, though, Wanchop, hasn't he? That's another aspect. I've talked about his goals, and I've talked about the fact that he's such an important member of this Costa Rican side. He's held the ball up as well as anybody.
Substitution on the way here. Gomez coming off for Costa Rica to be replaced by Stephen Bryce, who scored one of their goals against Bolivia and also scored against Uruguay in that match I mentioned in the first half a couple of years ago, a friendly when Uruguay beat Costa Rica by 5 goals to 4. He's really a midfield player with a good goal-scoring record.
Well, he loves to get forward. I'm a little bit surprised Costa Rica making that substitution at the moment. I think they might have gone for something a little bit more defensively, but Bryce is an attacking midfield player and he does love to get forward, and certainly the game that I saw them against Honduras, he was absolutely outstanding. He was a real threat right through the course of that match.
They pitch as much as anything, taking that ball away from Arnchon, as we see again. Just imagine if the goalkeeper had stood on his line, that would have gone neatly straight into his arms.
Well, it is, and it's a high-risk strategy, but he knew exactly what he was doing, Lemos.
As you said, great when they come off. It could have been hugely embarrassing if the keeper had just thought, well, I don't think I'll move here. It's one you can't really try again.
Well, you need some bottle to do it, you really do, because it was quite interesting that the goalkeeper, Lonis, decided to dive the way that his skipper, Parks, had told him to. Parks was pointing on the edge of the box for the goalkeeper to go to his left-hand side. He did exactly that.
What a kick that was by Parks there. He went straight to Morales. He was lucky to get away with that, the captain. For some reason, again, the goalkeeper, Lonis, not taking goal kicks himself. As Bryce, the Costa Rican substitute, battles to try and win it back, battles too hard, free kick.
Well, he'll bring a bit of energy to Costa Rica's performance, and they're going to need that, because Uruguay, I think it's got to be said, they really have responded superbly well from that goal by Paulo Wanchop. It was a magical goal. Most of the ones that he scored through Copa America have been, but Uruguay have responded in a very positive fashion.
There's Lima for Uruguay. 1-1 the score. Picked on by Carlos Morales. It'll come back in his direction. The layoff to Perez. And the other Morales couldn't quite control the ball. But it's all Uruguay at the moment. It's a strange mixture, isn't he, Lemos? That was really sloppy, and he's given it away and given Bryce the opportunity to counter-attack now for Costa Rica, who've got a man over down that left-hand side, but Castro loses his footing on the wet turf.
Well, the surface just beat him. It was a promising move for Costa Rica, and that's what I said a little bit earlier, Alan, that the Uruguay have got to get the balance right. You know, they now are in the ascendancy, the better side, and Costa Rica, though, have got that ability to hit them hard on the counter-attack.
Little push there by Centino. Free kick for Uruguay. Mexico wait and wonder which of these two they'll be playing in the semi-final. Good running again from Carlos Morales, and he's done brilliantly here, and the other Morales was his target. Just missed him.
Oh, it was superb play, but once again, Costa Rica allowing Uruguay to get into threatening areas. It was Martinez, the culprit, defending too deep, and Morales had enough ability about him, not only to get past him, but to hit a wonderful ball in towards the penalty area.
Another change. Costa Rica making 2 substitutions in pretty quick succession. Centino, the player, coming off to be replaced by Rodrigo Cordero. And now Uruguay have taken the cue. They're going to make a change of their own. Then the ball goes out of play. Which it has now, because that's a free kick. Uruguay are waiting to bring on their number 10, Ruben Oliveira, midfield player, as we get confirmation of the other change for Costa Rica. And coming off, Carlos Morales, who is a striker, and as I said, his replacement is a midfield player. What does that tell us, I wonder?
Well, I think what they'll do is they'll probably look to go with the number 20, Richard Morales, up front, perhaps on his own, and just try and get players breaking from midfield.
Oliveira's first move is forward for the free kick. And indeed, he's got the ball straight away, and again. And not a bad one either, almost picked out Morales in the centre. Now it's Costa Rica's turn to break. Fonseca for them. And here goes Paulo Wanchop again. Oh, he did well there, the goalkeeper. Very good play by Manua.
Oh, it was absolutely superb anticipation from the goalkeeper. That's 3 occasions that he's come to the rescue at times of his defenders, just really reading the situation magnificently.
Rice makes a little ground down this right-hand side and wins another throw. Drummond will take it. Well, with about 20 minutes, including stoppage time, to be played in this game, still very difficult to predict who's going to be the winner here. And don't forget, our next action from the Copa America comes tomorrow, when we see the conclusion of the quarterfinal stage. Peru, who scraped in as one of the third-place teams, playing the host Colombia, and then following that game, Honduras will take on the mighty Brazil. It might not be quite as mighty as old Brazilian teams, but they have produced some magic already in this tournament, and they are, remember, the holders. Costa Rica with a chance to get the ball in Uruguay's penalty area from this free kick. Goes in towards Paulo Wanchop, who wins the header.
Well, just really being able to feed off bits and pieces now, Wanchop, because Uruguay have been so dominant since they've scored. And, well, it is difficult to predict who is going to win this match now, but you'd have to favour the Uruguayans because they have responded the more positively.
Pump forward towards Bryce here, and the whistle's gone. A foul, I think, by him rather than on him. Lay off by Oliveira, who's just come on a couple of minutes ago for Uruguay. Their only change so far, and he's given it away. Free kick, Costa Rica. A pretty wild challenge that was on Cordero. No additions to the 5 first half cautions. Offside, Morales.
Yeah, it certainly looks as if Morales is playing as a lone striker, and Oliveira just seems to have that responsibility of just either floating off him, and when Uruguay have to defend, just funneling back, as you can see there in the picture, trying to complement his midfield.
Well, who's going to be brave enough now to try and win this game? Or are they both reaching the period where they'll settle for a penalty shootout? Bryce certainly hasn't got that view as he goes forward. Tackle by Perez was a good one. I think the ball crossed the line. The referee stepped in again as tempers become a little frayed.
Well, Bryce is getting involved in just roughing up 1 or 2 of the Uruguayan defenders. I said he was an all-action player, but they haven't taken kindly to him since his introduction as a substitute.
And the challenge on Castro, but the referee seems to have given the free kick to Uruguay. I can't quite work that one out.
That's a strange decision, but There's one or two things now happening that the referee is going to have to be very watchful of. This game is going towards its conclusion. Certainly there's a lot of pressure on either side now to try and force their way into the semi-finals.
Rice the target again here. Feeling he got pushed in the back, but the referee has ruled against him again. Uruguay's throw.
Well, actually, both sides have gone reasonably negative now, because when you look at the number 7, Fonseca, for Costa Rica, he's almost just acting as a midfield player as well, with Costa Rica quite happy to just play one up front. So perhaps both sides just, if they can get a bonus and get a goal, great. If not, then they'll settle for penalties.
Here goes Bryce into the corner. That was a good challenge. Good work by Gutierrez. Perez. Onchan hits it long and catches Morales offside.
Well, that's better defending. That's 2 occasions now that Richard Morales, number 20, has found himself offside, because the back 3 of Costa Rica is probably holding a far better line than what we have seen for most of this game.
Into the final quarter of an hour here in Armenia, where it has not stopped pouring with rain from long before the start of this game. But it's still been an excellent international match between Costa Rica in the red shirts and Uruguay in the blue, playing for a place in the last 4 of the Copa America, the world's oldest international football tournament. And one of them must triumph before the night is through. It'll go to penalties if they're still level on 90 minutes. Oliveira for Uruguay, who came back to equalise after Paulo Wanchop had given Costa Rica the lead with his 5th goal of the tournament. A penalty kick by Lemos, making it 1-1. Callejas finds again the number 6 Lima down this left-hand side. Back it goes to Cabello, and there's certainly a note of caution now in Uruguay's play anyway.
Yeah, I think both sides are desperate not to lose this, and I think there's almost a resignation that they're quite happy to go to penalties, which is quite a bizarre way of thinking about, because we know what as fast penalties can be.
The moronic wave causing that disturbance, if we can call it that, in the crowd.
Don't you like that message, David?
Not in the least.
I always think it's a sign when people get bored, but I can't believe that the fans in the stadium are bored with this game.
Lima will take the free kick. Looking for Oliveira, perhaps. Headed away by Parks, Fonseca, and now Bryce for Costa Rica. Oh, that's a good little ball. A chance to break for Castro. Looks up to see where support is. It's Paulo Wanchop, but it's offside.
Good defending. Absolutely superb defending from Uruguay, because they were vulnerable to the counter-attack. It's what I said a little bit earlier. You've got to get the balance right. But that is excellent defending. That's what I was talking about. Just a defender holding his line, stepping up. As soon as Castro was going to make that pass, I think it was Gutierrez, the number 13, who just said, right, Wanchop's going to find himself in an offside position. Absolutely superb.
Thought for a moment there the referee might have cautioned him for putting the ball in the net. Hope I'm wrong, because remember, if he gets cautioned, he misses the semi-final if Costa Rica make it.
He's tested the referee's patience, because he was one in the first half. You remember when he punched the ball out of the goalkeeper's hands? So there's 2 occasions where perhaps the referee's been extremely lenient with him.
Well, probably like everyone else, he wants to see more of Wanchop in this competition, in which he's been such a success and in which he's well placed here. But Fonseca has to check, can't get the cross in, but can find Bryce, who looked for Wanchop on the near post instinctively, dropped it in short, so Rondo gets it clear.
That seems to be Costa Rica's little spell now, doesn't it? You know, again, we talked about the sway and balance in this match, and certainly the first 45 minutes, you'd have to say that Costa Rica deserved to be ahead, but they had a good opening period, got themselves one in front, but then Uruguay since then have been superb.
And no offside here as Bryce takes the ball in his stride and then makes a terrible hash of the shot.
Well, Uruguay haven't got it often wrong that often at the back, and this time they did. Bryce is an all-action player, but when it was a time, and the important time, just to steady himself, give himself that composure, he didn't really show it. And that was an excellent opportunity, and there you can see the finished article was very wasteful indeed.
Stephen Bryce plays for the Alajuela club, and they've got a lot of players in Costa Rica's squad here. Free kick to Uruguay this time, and he's off again trying to get players booked, Lemos.
Well, it was a silly challenge, wasn't it, from the substitute Cordero.
Another free kick, another in Uruguay's favour. Parry has to play a foul this time by Solis, who's one of those on a yellow card.
You're just really trying to genuinely win the ball back, and about to be one or two crunching tackles now flying. Neither side wants to lose this quarter-final tussle, but it's been a wonderful game, and I think, again, full credit to both sets of players. The conditions have been appalling. It's not stopped raining all evening, and the pitch is perhaps, the grass is a little bit longer than what you would expect, but they really have served us up a treat.
As Fonseca almost got the ball through Uruguay's defence. Drummond. This time it is offside, Bryce.
Well, the referee making it very clear indeed that it was an offside decision.
I thought he was controlling traffic in the car park, actually.
Well, as that ball came in from Drummond, you can just see an offside there from Bryce, but again, it was that man Sorondo organising things at the back for Uruguay, making sure that everybody is doing his duties properly.
There's an awful lot of free kicks now, and I have to say it's Costa Rica who are conceding most of them.
Well, they've got to maintain their discipline, because as well as conceding free kicks, you don't want to concede free kicks in good areas, and these are good areas. But Uruguay, can they come up with something special? Can they, with what, 9 minutes to go, find that clinching goal?
Lemos, their goal scorer from the penalty spot, will take the free kick. Three in the wall, extravagantly swept out to the right and pumped back in towards Morales. Was there a handball in there? There was. It was a Uruguayan hand.
I'm sure both goalkeepers will be mentally preparing themselves now. They'll be more than aware that it's going to go into possibly a penalty shootout, but of course Uruguay having that advantage of getting a penalty already and converting it extremely successfully.
Here's the man who did so, Lemos. Can't get round the challenge from Cordero this time. Bryce has it for Costa Rica, and he wins a free kick. Wants to take it quickly, and Perez didn't want him to take it quickly, and looked like rugby for a second there.
Well, Perez is a no-nonsense defender, isn't he, as most of the Uruguayan players are. He's not afraid to get stuck in.
And Bryce has certainly stirred things up since he came on. Another late challenge there. He's got away with it as Cordero plays it forward. And the excellent Sorondo steps out the back to win it, but not for long. Paulo Wanchop, oh, absolutely magnificent again by Wanchop. Oliveira dispossesses him, however. And that's a great ball over the top for Morales. The goalkeeper hesitated, changed his mind. At the moment, he's got away with that, and he has now.
Well, what a great shame. What a promising opportunity for Uruguay. Again, breaking that offside trap that Costa Rica are trying to play. It's not the most impressive of lines, and if Morales could have come up with something a little bit special with his left foot, the goalkeeper was well off his line.
Another foul there by Perez on Castro, the wing-back.
Well, you just can't quite decide who's going to win this football match, can you? It is so evenly balanced.
Will we have a winner inside the 90 minutes, or will it be A penalty shootout to decide who goes through to meet Mexico. Cordero will take this free kick for Costa Rica in the red jerseys. Headed away by Morales, back defending. Oliveira picks up the loose ball, skips over the challenge. He's done well since he came on, the number 10. It's the commentators' curse again. But back they come, Uruguay. That's a foul by Drummond, experienced player who ought to know better than to concede an unnecessary free kick here.
Well, it is unnecessary, and what it does do, it puts a lot of pressure on that back three, because when you look at the likes of Richard Morales, Sorondo, the number 3, Perez, Guiterres, you know, they're all dominant figures in that area of the field.
Lima's free kick. Oh, the goalkeeper and defender both went for the same ball then. Lucky to get away with that, Costa Rica. Bryce takes them on the counter-attack. Oh, he did really well. Wins the throw.
Well, they need that, and he does have that ability really to take the ball from back to front, and they just need a bit of a respite at the moment, Costa Rica, because they have defended for large periods in this second half.
There's Parks, their captain. Well anticipated there by Cabello, and he finds Oliveira. And still, good run this. And he wins a free kick. Now this is an interesting position.
Well, he was looking for it, to be fair to him, and Marine just looked slightly bemused. He felt that Oliveira was trying always to get that free kick, and Marine just using his strength to come across the Uruguayan substitute. But again, it's what I was saying, Alan, you can't afford to give free kicks away, not this stage of the game, and not with the game so evenly balanced.
Well, a goal now would surely prove to be the winner. We're in the final 4 minutes. Kaye has one of those players shaping as though he might take it. Lima's not far away either. And it's gone in! It flicked off someone in the wall and found its way through. And the goal scorer, Lima, knows he has surely given Uruguay a place in the semi-final. We always knew that Costa Rica were likely to concede a free kick too many, and they have.
Ah, what a great shame. What a great shame, because Costa Rica really have been magnificent to get this far, but well, there's a misfortune. I think it actually came of a deflection from Solis, number 8 in the wall. Can't help thinking, though, when these walls have been lined up through the Copa America, that they are further than the 10 yards that really they should be. And as that ball was hit low, and a lot of people now, coaches, will tell you to hit the ball low from free kicks, because the natural reaction from defenders is to jump at the ball, and when you jump, you do leave that space below your feet. And that's exactly what happened. They got lucky, and unfortunately for Costa Rica, Lonis really couldn't react to the slight deflection from Solis.
As one chop goes in, trying to bring Costa Rica level. Pablo Lima, the 20-year-old who only got called up into the squad about a month ago for that classic victory that Uruguay enjoyed against Brazil in a World Cup qualifier, might well have given them the place that they have dreamed of here with this experimental squad of players. He's made that scoreline 2-1, and with such little time remaining, only 2 minutes now, surely Costa Rica can't come back, and Uruguay will be in the semi-final for the second successive tournament.
Well, you can see Uruguay making another substitution, and I'm sure that'll be a defender. They'll want to hang on to this now, and they'll know that Costa Rica are really going to have to throw everything they've possibly got at this Uruguayan rear guard, and for the best part of the game, they have been superbly marshalled by Sorondo, the skipper, and they just have a matter of 2 or 3 minutes now to hold out.
Well, no disrespect intended to Uruguay, but I think most neutrals who've watched this tournament would have wished to see Costa Rica, if given a choice, make progress to the semi-finals. But Uruguay are here to do the business on their own behalf, and they've done that exceptionally well.
Well, he'll be the antics that we've seen time and time again coming from this part of the world, because Uruguay will be now hell-bent on just slowing things down. They'll want to take any rhythm that Costa Rica can find in these last 2-3 minutes and make sure that they hang on to this lead. But there's a cruel deflection. I think it was off the legs of Solis, the number 8 for Costa Rica, and this is the elbow or the stiff left arm that Paulo Wanchop found on Cabello. But, again, Uruguay won't be in too much of a hurry now to take this free kick.
You think the goalkeeper might have got it had it not deflected, the goal?
It's difficult to say. You'd have to think that he'd have it lined up. You would hope that the wall would do its job, because it was actually hit at the wall. But to go back to the point I made, you know, I've seen it, and I'm actually commenting, I think it was the last game that we did, that how far the walls were back from where the ball was placed, and it must be at least 15 yards. Paulo Wanchop now just showing his frustration, his disappointment, and well, if they do go out Costa Rica, the Copa America will be without its best player, because he really has had an outstanding tournament.
And confirmation that that yellow card means that Paulo Wanchop will not be able to play in the semi-final, though that now appears to be immaterial. The confusion about exactly who's coming off here. Martinez is the player coming on, and it's Lemos who's going off, and he's making an absolute meal of it to try and kill some more time. And the referee's up to that little ruse. As you can see, it is still battering down the rain here.
Well, Uruguay have just sacrificed their playmaker for a more defensive midfield player. It's a smart move on their part. Now really just got to see out this time, find themselves into the semi-finals against Mexico. But I think a lot of people's heart will go out to Costa Rica. They have really been an outstanding side in this tournament, and they've played some superb football.
Here's the little slap that has cost Paulo Wanchop his place in the next game of the tournament, though, as I said, I'm pretty certain there isn't going to be a next game for Costa Rica. It'll be interesting to see if anyone can overtake him as leading scorer. He's got 5. The nearest is on 3. Those 2 players, remember, Montesinos and also Aristizabal. Costa Rica
just got to throw everybody forward now. That's their desperate last attempt to try and salvage something out of this game.
Seems that Manua, the Uruguayan goalkeeper, was cautioned for some reason at some point as well. Pumped back in by Martinez. And the foul goes against Costa Rica and against Wanchop. That might just be the last throw of the dice for them. We haven't seen any indication of how much stoppage time is going to be played, but we're already, as you can see, approaching 93 minutes, so there can't be long. Just needs to hold it up here now, Morales. He's conceded the free kick, and the next time they cross the halfway line, Costa Rica might be the last time. They don't even get to do that. A late goal by Pablo Lima from a free kick has given Uruguay victory. They had to come from a goal behind after Paulo Wanchop had shot Costa Rica into the lead. That they did, and Uruguay, for the second Copa America in a row, are into the last 4, having beaten Costa Rica by 2-1 here tonight.
Thank you, Alan. They've lived up to their finest traditions in that second half, Uruguay, but you have to feel sorry for Costa Rica. The bad news for Uruguay, it's not much easier when they do meet the teams from the other half of the draw. The remaining 2 quarterfinals, Colombia, the host nation.
Desde el Estadio Centenario de Armenia en Colombia, muchas gracias con ese forcejeo final que estamos viendo. La verdad es que ha habido bastantes roces durante gran parte del partido y no iba a ser menos al final, aunque ahora parece que ya retiran a costarricenses y uruguayos para que unos purguen su pena y los otros se alegren por la clasificación, pero ha habido bastantes roces y vemos a Wanchop bastante enfadado. Final del partido, al final no ha habido mayores problemas, aunque sí hay muchos enfados. Es todo, señores. Desde Armenia, en Colombia, un saludo. Muy buenas noches.